Scouring Schism by Arman Amirikia. With the intention of seeing churches, comparing Protestant and Catholic perches, an excursion to Brandenburg did cause my researches. Amongst her ruined abbeys, long gone soul searches. To compare between the two, preservation of church art. With the monastery Kloister Neuberg shall I start? Which did Saint Leopold III its foundation impart? With the Verdun Altar, then did it continue to cart. In 1485, with a Babenburg genealogy now part, Leo, then canonized saint, could restfully depart. Unlike their northern cousins, did they remain smart. For although the 1561 Austrian church report hit as a dart, seeing that the monks took concubines to heart, a Protestant abbot did Maximilian II find too tart, thrown out so as not render the monastery a lingering fart. A rift emerged with the monasteries of that north in Protestant cold. A shift submerges those Protestant monks of a Reformation now too old. For Charles VI, losing Spain in universal rule, wished to stay bold in planning a new Eastern Escorial and enduring monastery, he foretold. Despite that, for his Maria Theresa, a capital in Vienna instead sold. The monastery, partially ennobled, survived. With much art did it hold. Just so Father Ambrose, under my pagan objections, could fold, bursting with art, that massive complex the church still controlled. To compare Catholic beauty with that expansive northern waste, I ventured to the heretic and found Berlin in strange taste. To whom more iconoclasm sits than in my bibliography cut and paste, as I intended to ruin monasteries see what art they debased. To meet venerated cloister ruin in inner city Berlin I chased. In the late 13th century, where the Franciscans graced, from a Margrave patron and upon the course of history it raced, drifting along until in 1539 did the wind of ill fortune make haste, bellowing upon brethren till baptized as Protestant and defaced. All the beauty after, in 1571, the last Catholic, Brother Peter, died but showcased how the tense coexistence in the early Reformation could keep peaceably spaced. Only with the cloistering counter-Reformation were the Jesuits forcibly paced to apprehend the Protestant threat in the South, battering it bloodily maced. However, in northern cloister ruin, eroding the Catholics left its memory erased, becoming a printer's shop, then gymnasium, largely left the building abased, requiring so much work. Much of the cloister became replaced. Ironically, the Nazis, after 350 years, made it a church, despite being unchaste, just for it to set ablaze in the war with only its outlines still traced. Thus, despite the restoration in that place conjured, it lies anachronistic, lifeless, and greatly stirred. Its own living tradition as Catholic cloister abjured, as burnt corpse the Protestant North it still freely demurred. Its heritage, either burnt or lumping into one great herd, remolded in the 19th century into one great state-owned herd. On the trip to the evangelical Saint Marienkirche, I hit upon the 13th century foundation. So much white paint would they spit, so that not until the 19th century did the building admit that under Protestant iconoclasm could a fresco still sit, so cornered off, hidden away such that I didn't see it, that which my eyes wandered for, but whose appearance didn't emit. For I was only to see a church glimmering in art from its home made to exit, and even from what remained of the cloister ruin was its art to commit to a barren canvas set to flame previously by Protestant grit. A church once full of frescoes, now lying with mere echoes. Likewise from Cloister Cloran such history bellows. A 13th century foundation let to rot in meadows. For in 1542 the Protestantized clergy sent it to the gallows. A monastery, again, by the 19th century in a state of sallows, then facing administrative slaughter, by which the state bestows. And what of Catholic remains became transmuted to hollows. From monastic tradition, a public gathering place is all that follows. To return to Austria, the minority Kirche exudes iconoclasm, which in the 16th century was sent to the Protestant chasm, ruled by such estates for a time alongside Jesuit phantasm, a Catholic monastery next to a church of Protestant enthusiasm. Despite the stripping of the church in 1620 by Protestant miasm, the bland walls only became dotted with signs of imperial plasm. A Catholic shell wrought by empire and reform, now an empty chiasm. Thus is the story of a north-south ecclesiastical impasse, which sadly left the northern monasteries all too crass, with Protestant harbingers not even leaving stained glass. So utilitarian limelight on barren walls now reveals an empty mass.